Good afternoon. It's Jasmine from Jasmine's Garden, and I had a couple of big changes to my garden that I thought I would quickly show you guys. So we'll start off with the peppers and cucumbers that were transplanted along with some basil in the back raised garden beds. In this 10-gallon grow bag, I have 3 Genovese basil up at the front. These are sweet Italian basil, and then the rest here are lettuce leaf basil. Here are all the peppers. So I've given them tomato cages for support. This is the poblano pepper, a sugar rush peach pepper. That's a hot pepper that has a very citrus flavor. King of the North bell pepper, that's a sweet pepper. That's another poblano pepper. So those are hot peppers, but nothing's really hot. This is the habanada, so that's a heatless habanero pepper. Yellow banana pepper. This is a sweet corbaci pepper. A shishito pepper, so that's a spicier one. And the King of the North bell pepper again. For the cucumbers, I've got all along this side here up until the very front. Those are all, and 2 at the back here. These are national pickling cucumbers. These 2 up front that are very small and runty are melons. Then on this side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Kajari melons. Those are like personal honeydew type melons. Oh, 5 Kajari melons. And then those 2, oh no, that is my 1 single muncher cucumber. So more like an English cucumber that survived, or that germinated really. So alongside these, I'm going to direct sow the exact same seed that's there to do a comparison as to transplanted starts that I started 4 weeks early in peat pots and directly planted the whole pot for it to break down so I don't have to disturb its roots, or if direct sowing is going to work out better. Oh, those tulips, Kate can't walk by those without showing them to you. They're pretty. I love them in the evenings when they close up. I like the closed look better when they're fully mature than the open ones. But over here I've got, let's see, I planted 1 more white scallop squash and 1 more, or I guess 1 raven zucchini. That's just your typical green zucchini. And then a couple of corn. Same thing, I kept them in their peat pots and I planted the whole thing right in. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the corn, direct seed or direct sow. Squash, same thing, gonna direct sow. And then we'll compare how everything keeps. Here I'm already, you can see, eating out of my garden. These are the chives. I've eaten half the chives. We had baked potatoes yesterday. That was nice. And then the other big job that I got accomplished last night for the front garden, I managed to mulch all the beds and pots. So I'm using last fall's, my very last cut of the year. Or sorry, no, it wasn't last fall's. It was this spring's. We power raked. We got our neighbor to power rake, and I got him to save all my clippings, because that's when you get that really dry grass. There's not a lot of grass seed in the mix, and I saved them all. So I've got probably a dozen bags of dry grass mix, and I'm using that to mulch all my beds. So mulch is, there's so many different kinds of mulch you can use. You could use wood chips, compost, like really anything that covers the ground. In the last year I used the previous year's dry fall tree leaves that I shredded with my garden, and I use that in a lot of the beds to amend them. So I mulched with that as well. So the whole idea with mulching is it's kind of like a twofold. One, it provides a ground cover for your bare soil. So if you leave soil bare, it will dress itself in weeds because soil does not like to be naked. So if you don't want to be heavily weeding, dress your beds and cover them up. The other thing that it really helps with is moisture retention. So if you live in an area where you have trouble keeping your beds wet, then if you mulch with something that's going to hold moisture more, like for me, grass, it will make it so that you don't have to water as frequently because your soil isn't drying out every single day. Now I know nothing about, for example, like BC climate where it's very wet. I don't think, I would guess, you wouldn't want to use that type of mulch. You'd want to go more wood chip, something where the water will drain more freely because of how much rain you get. Whereas here we're super dry. Like we've been having every summer fire bans and droughts from the lack of rain. So for me, it is a priority to use something that's going to retain moisture. So I'll quickly show you the front beds that I've got my mulch down to show you a little example of what I mean. And then I've got a couple of extra food gardens that I did some seeds and plant starts for that you can see for the kids' snacking garden in the front. So these pots have all been mulched. The front's mulched. The pots here and the ones right up front on either side, as well as hanging basket and patio basket. And then this one got really heavily mulched because I don't garden under there. So you can see how it's just a bed of grass. And then I soaked it with water so that hopefully it can start holding on to more water. It's so pretty. And then over here, so I've got the kiddie pool full of seeds and mulched. I've got a King of the North sweet bell pepper there, as well as one in a planter here. And then right here I've got my bush beans and some, like a tiny little, something just for the tendrils to hang on to. So it doesn't have to be a trellis, just provides a small bit of support, and they'll thank you for that. So these have all been mulched. Now I just have the back beds to mulch, which will be a big project because it is a big space, but it's easier to spend, I don't know, a couple days for a couple hours each laying down your mulch than it is for the entire season fighting weed control. So yeah, that's what I'm up to for the next couple of days. And I hope to post any updates in these shorter clips for anything that's really interesting or of note that I get done in my garden between now and next week. You guys have a good one. Take care.